Welcome to Poland Daily News. My name is Alexander Putin. The Polish Ministry of Health has announced that it plans to implement new measures designed to curb the spread of the coronavirus, with capacity limits lowered in public spaces and remote schooling introduced for a period of 2 weeks.
Today, Deputy Health Minister Waldemar Kraska stated that from December 15th, the limit on the number of people allowed in public spaces such as restaurants and cinemas would be lowered. Businesses will be required to check customers' COVID certificates. From December 15, we are lowering occupancy limits to 30% in restaurants, bars and hotels. The limits do not apply to vaccinated people, their status verified by the business owner. Also, from December 15th, we are lowering occupancy limits to 30% in cinemas, theaters, sports venues and places of worship. Nightclubs will be closed from December 15th, and on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, only 100 people will be allowed to enter, not counting those who have been vaccinated. Additionally, all travelers from outside the European Union's Schengen passport-free zone will need to show a negative test result from December 15th, and schools will return to distance learning for periods just before and after the Christmas holiday. We are also changing the rules for people coming to Poland from outside the Schengen area. From December 15th, all people who will fly to Poland from outside the area will have to show COVID-19 tests performed no later than 24 hours before arrival. While the number of daily coronavirus cases in the European Union's largest eastern member has stabilized, it remains at a high level, and authorities fear that the new Omicron variant could trigger a jump in infections.
The world is waiting for news from today's 2-hour-long telephone conversation between United States President Joe Biden and its Russian President Vladimir Putin. The phone meeting between the two leaders comes at a point where Russia's military build-up on its border with Ukraine has the national security experts around the globe on edge.
Speaking ahead of the meeting, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia will use the meeting to present its approach to resolving the crisis in Ukraine's east. Moscow says it wants Kiev to fulfill its obligations under the Minsk set of measures, something Ukraine believes Moscow and separatist-held Donetsk and Lugansk should do. Top-level politicians from other states in the region say the US and EU must become much tougher on Russia in the face of its aggressive stance.
First, we need to prepare a very strong political and economic sanctions package. I would not exclude things like sanctioning Nord Stream 2, disconnecting from SWIFT, and I think that Russia needs to know in advance what is the economic price tag. Political price tag, of course, it's again about all the international organizations being used just to keep pressure, but we know that political pressure is not enough. Second, I do believe that in that case, NATO needs to increase its presence in what we call eastern flank, just to show Russia that the price for doing some military adventure in Ukraine is more troops, more defense capability, and I underline defense capability in the Baltic states, in Poland, in Romania, in Bulgaria, those NATO countries that are actually directly affected by such kind of adventure.
Rinkevich, Latvia's foreign minister since 2011, said it was unclear if Putin was simply trying to test the West's resolve or if the Kremlin planned a full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
Maybe astrology or some other more precise science needs to be involved, but I do believe that Ukraine for Russia and for President Putin is an essential part of the kind of vision of Great Russia. Maybe re-establishment of the Russian Empire is something that the Kremlin really views as its goal, and you can't establish or re-establish the empire in Russia if you don't have Ukraine, for many reasons.
NATO has in recent years strengthened its presence in the Baltic states and across Eastern Europe, but critics say the increases have been too small.
The Polish border guard has announced that it has recovered 116 attempts to illegally cross into Poland in the past 24 hours. Poland also conducted 25 pushbacks of migrants across the border to Belarus. A group of 30 migrants tried to storm the fence near Czeremcha twice, but was beaten back by the Polish border guard.
Fewer migrants are trying to cross the frontier between Poland and Belarus now, but the Polish border guard told journalists visiting the previously off-limits border zone that it still faces provocations from Belarusian forces. Speaking near the Kuźnica border crossing, the site where Polish security services turned on water cannons on stone-throwing migrants in mid-November, Polish border guard captain Krystyna Jakimik-Jarosz told the press that the country is still under pressure. During the last day, we recorded 35 illegal attempts to cross the Polish-Belarusian border. We gave 8 notices for people to leave Polish territory. Despite the decreasing number of attempts to illegally cross the border, we still have to deal with provocations from the Belarusian side. Yesterday at 4 p.m. in the Narewka area, we saw on the Belarusian side a car from the Belarusian security services from which Belarusian soldiers, every dozen meters or so, were throwing firecrackers towards us. Local residents are thankful for the security provided by the almost 22,000 men strong force that Poland has mobilized along the border. Now we feel that we are suffering from stress. There is nothing one can do. Still, I think that with the help like today, what we heard on TV, we see it ourselves. There is no danger for the locals here in Kuźnica. We live safely. The EU has now announced that EU funds could be used to build permanent border walls at the border with Belarus.
Israel announced today that it has completed a sensor-equipped underground wall on its border with the Gaza Strip. It is a countermeasure developed after Hamas militants used tunnels to blindside Israeli troops in a 2014 war.
Israel went public with the project, which also includes an above-ground fence, a naval barrier, radar systems and command and control rooms in 2016. The Defense Ministry has stated that the barrier, which includes hundreds of cameras, radars and other sensors, spans 65 kilometers and took 3.5 years to complete. Today, with the completion of the project, which is mostly hidden, we deprive Hamas of one of the capabilities it tried to develop, and it places an iron wall, sensors and concrete between the terror organization and the residents of the Israel south. This barrier will provide Israeli citizens with a sense of security and will enable this beautiful region to continue developing and flourishing. The project's smart fence is more than 6 meters high, and its maritime barrier includes means to detect infiltration by sea and a remote-controlled weapon system. Gaza has also a 14-kilometer-long border with Egypt, which has also clamped down on crossings, citing security concerns. We'll continue to maintain our readiness to thwart any attempt to harm Israeli citizens, with an emphasis on rocket attacks from Gaza. We will also prevent the transfer of Iranian know-how and technology to Gaza, and we will continue thwarting any attempt by Hamas to operate its affiliates in Judea and Samaria or anywhere in Israel. Since 2013, Egyptian forces have demolished smuggling tunnels, while Hamas, on its side, has stepped up patrols. Israel and Hamas have fought 4 wars since the Islamist group seized control of the coastal Gaza Strip in 2007 from forces loyal to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
That's it for now. Join us tomorrow, same time.